Hi, and welcome again to Will Henry's Workshop. In the last segment, I can't really remember what I did. No, I removed the barrel of these two Kimbers in preparation to rebarreling them, and we discovered that the long action had been damaged a little bit by a locking lug that had galled in its recess. And so what I'm going to do is lap it just a little bit to smooth it out. And I just thought I would show how I accomplish that. Not saying that my way is the best way, but it's my way. So the first thing is to find where the hell I put my Allen keys, and there they are. Anyway, before doing anything else, oh boy, everything on this thing's tight. Before doing anything else, I remove the trigger so that nothing influences the bolt while I'm lapping. Also remove the ejector for the same reason. It doesn't put much pressure sideways on the bolt, but it puts a little bit, so we'll get it out of the way as well. Then we'll remove the extractor from the bolt, again, just so that it doesn't influence anything. And the extractor collar, there we go. So now we have the bolt just about disassembled. I'll take the striker out as well. Got a little out of sequence on this. There we go. I can remove that striker. Now, when a person's lapping a bolt, lapping the locking lugs in, some people will use a fixture that's spring-loaded so that you have spring pressure against the face of the bolt. I don't think that's the right way to do it, because the spring pressure, if there's any unevenness in the bolt or on the locking lug seats, the spring will allow the bolt to ride up over that unevenness so that anything that's wrong is perpetuated because it doesn't remove it. So instead of that, what I do is I stick a piece of dowel into the chamber of the barrel, in this case the old barrel that came off it, and then that piece of doweling will apply pressure to the bolt. So there it's contacting. So, and for this, I'm just going to use a little clover compound. This is very fine. Heck is it 400 grit, and the thing with clover compound is that as you use it, it breaks down further, so that by the time you've made a few strokes on there, it's probably more like 600 or 800 grit. Take popsicle sticks here and apply some compound to the seats. And then also a little bit to the lugs. Now, lapping like this, while it works out fine, essentially you end up hopefully not embedding too much compound in anything, but it just kind of wears down both surfaces together. Normally when lapping, you want to have a lap or a lapping surface that's softer than what you're working on. That way your lapping compound embeds into the lap and cuts the metal you're trying to lap. So in this case, or when lapping most any rifle action, it doesn't work quite that way. But so I push the bolt as far forward as it'll go and turn it down to make sure I've got compound caught in between the lugs and the seats. And then we'll screw this back on to where it contacts. And then when I'm doing this, I'll keep feeding it on by turning it tighter, and then while manipulating the bolt. And when I'm flopping that bolt handle, I'm going to move you up here a little bit so you can see a little better. You won't see really well because I'll probably be standing right in the way. There again, a little zoomage there. So I try to maintain pressure there, and then as I'm moving it, I do the best I can to try not and push the bolt to the side. I'm just kind of doing a rotation move there, and I keep the lugs engaged. You don't want to go up past the cam so that it's camming in and not working on the lug. I've seen a lot of cases where guys have gone about it wrong and they end up with an angled locking lug seat and locking lug. I saw one Winchester Model 70 that looked for all the world like a P14 because they had lapped it in properly. But anyway, so stay down there. You just work that and keep turning it in. And you got to feel that too. And if it starts to feel sticky, maybe put a little fresh compound on there, or just back off a little bit, because there again, if you put too much pressure on it, and of course there's no real lubrication here because you've got a lapping compound in there, it can pick up worse than it had before, and so you don't want that. So after a few dozen strokes there, just have a look and see what we're looking like. And of course, as you know, you can't really tell because once again, cheapskate with the crappy camera. But the damaged lug, which is this one, just trying to get some kind of reflection there where I can see it, but I can't see a darn thing. There you go. You can see that spot. There we are. You can see that spot, and that's where the metal had picked up between the two, and like I said, it actually made quite a dent in the locking lug, and the back surface of the lug was quite rough, and it's still a little rough, So I'm going to I'll back that action out a turn, and I'll put just a little more compound on the back of the lugs, and we'll give a little more go at it a little more here and see if we can't smooth that out even better. Like I say, by having a solid piece here in the barrel pushing against the face of the bolt, if there is a high spot, I can feel that, and I can go until that high spot's gone, and it'll actually knock it down. And again, I stay down so I'm mostly in full engagement, and I try not to push the rear of the bolt to the side. And another point on lapping, people talk about this and say, you know, you're going to ruin your headspace and so on. I'm here to tell you that in order to remove a couple thousandths of an inch, which would be the least you'd have to remove to be of any concern headspace wise, you got to pack a lunch, because this cutting doesn't happen quickly. So now, let's see if I can get our visibility back. Okay, there we are. Now, the hole's still there, but at least it's level everywhere else, and the contact surface is quite smooth. The other lug looks great. Now, what I'm going to do to finish this, screw this off here. And to finish this, I'll wipe this out best I can. One of my swabs here. Another swab. And we'll wipe all that out of there. Then I'll dab a little bit of JB bore compound on the back of the lugs. Again, push forward all the way. Oh, yeah, that looks good. Then I'll screw it back on and finish off with that JB compound. Like I said, JB doesn't cut much, but it does cut some, and it'll give you a pretty nice finish. When I'm lapping a barrel, I'll often finish it off with JB, although that's not too critical. You don't want a barrel that's too smooth anyway, and so that's not really, like I say, you don't have to finish it off that smooth. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about actions here. nice. I'll give it just a little more. So as you can see, the main issue with lapping lugs or lapping anything is that it's tedious. And it's definitely something you don't want to overdo because, as I've mentioned, it's possible, it's entirely possible to mess an action up. And early on in, back you up and talk to the camera here, early on in my career, lapping locking lugs was kind of SOP for every barrel job, and we just did it as a matter of course. And of course it was at that time that I kind of developed my way of doing things. But the truth is that you really want to keep it to a minimum, and the idea that you're going to lap lugs to change dimensions much is really kind of a fallacy. Now, I had at one point, I used a cast iron lap, piloted lap, to lap the locking lug seats in an action, and which I didn't think was a terrible idea, and it actually worked pretty well. And then I recut the backs of the lugs, and then it would just take a few strokes and everything was beautiful. But as I said, the whole lug lapping idea used to be SOP, but it's not so much anymore. Now we know a little better, I think, and so that we try to machine the lug seats and the lugs well enough that lapping is just really kind of a superfluous operation. You don't need to do it. And but in a case like this, where the seats and the lugs were damaged just a little, it doesn't hurt at all to try and improve the finish. See, that's really all you're doing. And now at this point, we've accomplished that. Once again, I'll zoom you in just a little and try to get my angle. Oh man, this is. Have you ever tried to do this while you're looking? Okay, there we go. Like I say, the dent's still there. I'd have to remove. Oh gosh, looking at that, I would say it would take at least 10 thousandths of an inch to remove that dent, and because the dent really, it's not going to have any effect. In fact, heck, it'll help to carry lubricant. But so anyway, I don't have to remove that. But the big thing is that looking at the other lug as well, it's smooth and just all in all a pretty attractive surface, and much better than it was. It was bordering on ugly, and much like the face I'm looking at there. But anyway, so now like I say, the bolt looks good. We'll see what the receiver looks like here in just a second. Hear the whining dog in the background there. Once again, upset because I'm doing something other than paying attention to the dog. dog's world, that's a bad thing. Hoppy's number 9 on here. I think I'm going to have to pause this while I go take care of that. There we go. I got to let the dog join me for the last little bit here. But so anyway, that's the finish of the lug lapping. That'll only be done on this one. The other action, the Creedmoor, is somewhat better looking. But anyway, now we're prepared to do our usual measurements and so on, prior to fitting the barrels to those. With the 6mm Creedmoor, with the brand new reamer here, with the 6mm Creedmoor, I don't have to do much of anything other than fit the barrel. It's pre-contoured to the Kimber profile, and so it should fit the stock and so on. But the other one, the 338-06, is going to need to be, contoured to match, and with it, the standard Kimber barrel is about 550 to 560 in diameter at the muzzle, whereas with that 338-06, I'll probably make it up around 610 or so, and just to give a little more, kind of compensate for the larger hole in the barrel, and to try and give it a little more weight up front than it would have otherwise. And I don't believe anybody shooting a 338-06 in a sub 6-pound rifle is going to mind a little extra weight. So there it is, my new Manson reamer. Looks really good, and we'll see how it works when we use it. But for now, we're through for the evening, and so this is Will Henry, out.